We are back and ready to continue. Alright, where were we? Finishing off the D's. Dylan Dog, Dead of Night with Brandon Routh. Still haven't watched it. Easy A with Emma Stone, really good film. Good kind of teen comedy adaptation of The Scarlet Letter, which is one of my favorite books of all time. Ed Wood, one of the best films about filmmaking ever, and by far and away Tim Burton's best film. Followed by Edward Scissorhands, probably his second best film ever, with the Deadpool slip there. We got the El Mariachi Trilogy. This is a Scandinavian release, as you can see. But it's got El Mariachi, Desperado, and Once Upon a Time in Mexico with that awesome cover. We got the Zavvi exclusive steelbook of the Studio Canal 4K of The Elephant Man. This came out before that new Criterion collection was set to come out. And, I'm glad to have it on a 4K for sure. And who knows if I'll get the Criterion or not, but I'm just glad to have it in 4K because this is in my top 5 for favorite films ever. Actually, it's my number 2 favorite film of all time behind City Lights. I love it so much. It makes me cry. And that is not easy to do at all. Elvira, Mistress of the Dark, on Arrow there. I know that there's a slipcover for this. I don't know if there's one for the UK one that I have, but I'll find out. Boobies! Ah! Emmanuel and the Last Cannibals. An interesting fusion of the erotic film with a cannibal film, starring Laura Gemser, and directed by Joe D'Amato. But great soundtrack. And how fitting, right next to Emperor's New Groove and Kronk's New Groove, one of the funniest Disney films ever. One of the funniest films I've ever seen. Kronk's New Groove, not kind of disappointing. One of David Lynch's best films, if not his best film, was his debut, Eraserhead. What do you even say about this film? It's so surreal, so dark, so disturbing, so what the fuck that it's amazing. And it's in black and white. Probably got one of the best sound designs for any film ever. Gotta keep up my strength. Got Escape. Really, really great Norwegian Viking era kind of action-adventure thriller. Highly recommend it. We got Escape from New York. This awesome Studio Canal 4K with the slip. This is a UK exclusive here, which is really awesome. Escape from Tomorrow, which is a Best Buy exclusive with the slip. Glad that I snagged this when it was available, and I was really afraid that Disney would snatch it off the shelves, and luckily they didn't. And I'm just glad that the filmmakers got away with all the stuff they got away with shooting on the Disney parks and that kind of stuff. Being able to show the Disney IPs and the characters and all that without their permission. And they did it under the context of fair use, which was really awesome. Just let that cord dangle. We got E.T. the Extraterrestrial with that awesome lenticular box there. It's the 4K. I mean, what do you need to say about E.T.? It's, one of Spielberg's masterpieces. Everything Must Go. I relate to this film quite a lot because, it's a comedy drama. It's, Will Ferrell really doing a fantastic job of acting. It's, a film about, he loses his job, loses his wife, loses access to his house, all in one fell swoop, has to let go of so much of his stuff, and he's trying to hold on to what little of his old life he had left, only to realize that he has to let the rest of that go in order to move on. This was basically me earlier this year, so yeah, I can relate to it. Now we got some Evil Dead films for you. Evil Dead 1 on 4K. One of possibly my favorite of the series, although it's so hard to say because I love them all in their own way. Evil Dead 2, possibly the most iconic of them all, the most kind of cult classic worthy. the amazing Scream Factory Steelbook of Army of Darkness, one of the other kind of cult classic, friendly installments in the series. Give me some sugar, baby. Love it. And that's not on 4K yet, but I just adore that steelbook design. It's one of the most beautiful I've ever seen. Evil Dead, the 2013 remake with the Canadian slip there, which was a good remake. It's really, really gory, really intense, and I'm impressed for that reason. Another Scandinavian release of the extended cut of the 2013 remake, which I've not watched yet. And then we got Ash vs. Evil Dead Season 1 with that lenticular slip. Still need to finish that show. I got so many things that I've started and not finished. Season 2 and Season 3 there. And then we got a zombie film I haven't watched yet, Exit Humanity. It was cheap. And, Canadian one. And then we got a bunch of Exorcist films here. We got the first one of the best horror films ever, by far and away. This is that 3-disc edition that I don't think is all that easy to find anymore. We got the Scream Factory edition of the second one, which I think I'm one of the very few, and actually Martin Scorsese's in my camp on this, or rather I'm in his camp. I think this is an underrated film. I don't think it's great or amazing. I think it deserves better than what it got. Is it disappointing relative to the first one, especially if you were really hyped for a sequel to the first one? Then yeah, absolutely, it's not as good as the first one, and it definitely is a stylistic departure for what it is, and some of the ideas it talks about, as far as the blending of science with faith and going inside someone's subconscious, and how demonic possession can still reside in the subconscious, and about the history of Pazuzu, and that sort of thing. How Richard Burton, who does a good job in this, how he traces the origins of Pazuzu and how he falls victim to Pazuzu, and I don't know. I think I like the locus. I like the music. I like the kind of trippiness of it. But as far as a more worthy sequel, Exorcist 3 is definitely a better film, and that's the Scream Factory of that. This edition has the director's cut called Legion, and it's not a perfect reconstruction because a lot of the footage has kind of degenerated. I'm not sure which one I like better, the director's cut or the theatrical cut, because I think the theatrical cut has a more spectacular climax. But I do think that the director's cut is obviously more true to William Peter Blatty's vision, so at least we got both. And then it's a little overly long, the director's cut, but I'm just glad that both exist. And then, out of order. We got some custom covers here, which are based on the DVD covers, but it's Exorcist the Beginning and Dominion, prequel to The Exorcist. These are the factory discs that came with that Exorcist anthology set. I just put them in their own case, and I sold the other discs because I didn't want to double dip. But basically you got two versions of the same story, but they're two different films. It's the same plot, just two different directors. They were shooting that version. The studio didn't like what Paul Schrader was doing, hired Rennie Harlan to basically remake the movie. This got released in theaters, didn't do very well, and then they threw some more money at Paul Schrader and said, can you please finish your version so we can, kind of get our faces up out of the dirt and kind of redeem ourselves. This one's by far and away the worst sequel, even though visually it's quite a stunning film. This one's actually pretty darn good, the Paul Schrader directed one. It's pretty darn good. I think it's thought-provoking. I think it's worthy of having the Exorcist name. And then, what else do we have here? We got the Expendables Trilogy in 4K. Still need to watch these. And then we got Extract, very underrated Mike Judge film with great cast of comedic actors, including Jason Bateman and Mila Kunis. Whew. Extraterrestrial, and the Scream Factory sci-fi horror film that I need to watch. One of Kubrick's best films and his last film before he died, Eyes Wide Shut. Oh man, what a great film. This would do well to have a Criterion release, but oh, I love it so much. What a great film to end on. Face Off, this Canadian 70s hockey film that I've not watched yet. I just wanted to learn more about Canada. About Canada, I should say. Face Off, the Nicolas Cage film, and Snake Eyes, the Brian De Palma film with Nicolas Cage in it. Love Nicolas Cage. And speaking of which, we also got John Travolta there, and we got him here with The Fanatic. With the slipcover, man, this is like a modern classic as far as like a so bad it's good movie. And the thing is, like, this is working with some good pieces. It definitely is. Like, this story could definitely work. It's just unintentionally funny with the performance that John Travolta gives, which he's really giving his all in this. And, like, in some ways, it accomplishes what it tries to be, but in other ways, it's just, like, so unintentionally funny that you can't help but laugh. But I'd recommend seeing it if you want a little laugh. We got Fantastic Four, Elektra, and Daredevil. I have not watched Elektra yet. Fantastic Four, this one was alright. And I've only seen the director's cut of this, which that's what this is. The director's cut is really good. I highly recommend it. I've not even bothered with the theatrical cut, which I've heard is not good. Got Fantastic Four: Rise of the Silver Surfer, which, in my opinion, is the worst Fantastic Four film, even worse than Fantastic Four 2015, which I personally don't even hate. And I'm a big Fantastic Four fan. That one was deriving more from Ultimate Fantastic Four, which I don't really care for, but as like a body horror film, it was trying to be that. This is just like sorry about that. The camera fucked up. This kind of ruins a really great story arc, the coming of Galactus, although the Silver Surfer was done really well. And then we got Faster Pussycat Kill Kill. This is a bootleg Blu-ray. I guess that the official one is super duper expensive and rare. But yeah, another Russ Meyer film with some bosomatic ladies. We got Father's Day with the slipcover. This is that limited edition one that has the soundtrack, which I love that poster there. That's such a cool poster. Got The Fault in Our Stars here with our dear Miss Shailene Woodley again. Stanley Kubrick's first film, Fear and Desire, put out by Kino, which Stanley Kubrick pulled this from circulation, but, you know, it's I think it's something that, you know, it's definitely worth watching to see where he got his start. And this was all totally independent, self-taught filmmaker, the whole 9 yards. What's the score here? What's next? It's Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. Really batshit insane film. Batshit insane film. Definitely recommend it. It's not for everybody. It's pretty like disgusting and gross and insane and carnivorous and just like so unwatchable, and yet so entertaining and so like just satirical, and you know, it's a great adaptation of a great novel, so if you're up for it, it's well worth it. And then we got I just realized out of order here. Actually no, in order. Thunderbender, Scream Factory slasher film with a cool synth score there. Got Ferris Bueller's Day Off. What a classic. You know, what can I say that hasn't already been said? And I love that it's right next to Fight Club with that awesome Deadpool slip there. Which someone actually did a mashup trailer where they blended these two movies together and made it such that like Ferris Bueller was Cameron's imaginary friend, which I've heard that fan theory, and it actually matches up surprisingly well. And then we got First Reformed, another Paul Schrader film. You can tell I like Paul Schrader. And we got Amanda Seyfried in here. Probably one of the best films about faith and its place in the modern world that I've ever seen. It's really, it's very Taxi Driver-ish, but I absolutely adored it. Highly recommend it. Fish Called Wanda, one of the funniest films I've ever seen. John Cleese did the script for this, and so good. Kevin Kline won a Best Supporting Actor Oscar. got the Fly set. Oh, one of the best Scream Factory sets by far. With the original three Fly films and the two of the remake continuity with Jeff Goldblum and everything. Probably one of David Cronenberg's best film, if not his best for sure. The remake, the original I grew up with, and the remake I've really come to appreciate as I have grown into body horror and into David Cronenberg's filmography. Focus, done by our dear Glenn Ficarra and John Requa again, with Will Smith and Margot Robbie before Suicide Squad. Really, really good film here, kind of about con men, which I'm not really a big con man film fan because I think they tend to be a little toothless. But this film I think is quite good, mostly because these two had really, really great chemistry, as they would later demonstrate in Suicide Squad. The Fog, 4K, Studio Canal, with The Slip there, one of John Carpenter's best, I think. One of the best sci-fi films ever, Forbidden Planet, which this movie basically is the reason why Star Trek exists, because this did Star Trek before Star Trek, and this is a great adaptation of William Shakespeare's The Tempest, but in space. What more do you need to say after that? Forbidden World. So we had Forbidden Planet and Forbidden World with this gorgeous, gorgeous steelbook design here from Scream Factory, a Roger Corman produced film. Not watched this film yet, Forgetting Sarah Marshall. I've heard good things about it. I've been meaning to watch more of Judd Apatow's filmography, even though modern comedies aren't really my thing, but we'll see. Trying to expand my horizons. Foxcatcher, one of my favorite 2010 drama films of the 2010s by Bennett Miller, who did Capote. Absolutely amazing film. Highly recommend it. Definitely changed my mind about Channing Tatum. He can act. Foxy Brown, blaxploitation classic starring our dear Pam Grier, put out by Arrow there. It's a UK exclusive there. Again, another film that was pretty essential for, giving African Americans a place in cinema and a voice and carving out a space. And then we got the Universal Frankenstein films. I'm such a big fan of Mary Shelley's original novel, and this kind of strays from it to the point where I'm like, and that's fine, you enjoy things for what they do. And I do, but it's like, that's not Frankenstein to me, or rather what Frankenstein means to me. The closest that I've seen that has come to it is Mary Shelley's Frankenstein with Kenneth Branagh, but even that deviates a little too much for my taste. But this Hallmark miniseries here, which I've not watched, but apparently this is like the first and only like really truly faithful adaptation, which that's why I'm so eager to check it out, because it's Mary Shelley's novel that's my favorite novel of all time, so I'm really excited to see it done right and done in depth. And then Frankenstein's Army with it's like a combo Frankenstein / Nazi exploitation horror film. How about that? Got Friends with Benefits, which I quite enjoyed. This was a surprisingly really good, funny romantic comedy. Love Mila Kunis and Justin Timberlake. What can't he do? He sings, dances. He can be funny. He can be dramatic on screen. He's really, really good as an actor. Like, I want to see him do. Well, I know he's done more things in this and The Social Network and Inside Llewyn Davis, things like that. I just want to see him like continue to ascend. Continue to hit his stride. Because he should have gotten a Best Supporting Actor nomination for The Social Network. He really should have. Fritz Lang collection here, which has Metropolis, Die Nibelungen, Spies, Dr. Mabuse the Gambler, Destiny, The Spiders, Woman in the Moon, Four Around the Woman, Harakiri, The Wandering Shadow, and The Plague of Florence, which I still need to sit down and watch all of these, but Metropolis, one of the best films ever made, one of the best sci-fi films ever made, just, a titan of world cinema and of silent cinema. I got this today, the From Dusk Till Dawn collection here, which this is very out of print. I know that the first one is coming back into print because of the Miramax deal with Lionsgate, having bought the rights to put out the catalog on home video again. But this particular release, as of right now, it's still out of print. It might not be forever, but this is the only one that you can get the, both of the sequels, the direct-to-video sequels, and Full Tilt Boogie, the documentary. Although, from what I've heard, the video quality of this release is not as good as the Canadian release, which I guess preserves the correct aspect ratio and things like that. And plus, there's no features and things, but it is what it is. And I don't think the standalone release is going to be any better necessarily, but I could be wrong. From Paris with Love, with a very, very... God damn it, camera, stop fucking up! From Paris with Love, with a very, very bald John Travolta there, and Jonathan Rhys-Meyers. Sorry about that. A timer keeps going off on the phone, and that's what caused it to stop recording. Frozen, the Best Buy exclusive steelbook. Look how beautiful that is. One of the best Disney films in such a long time. I saw this in the theater, and I saw it on a snow day from school, and it was an unforgettable theatrical experience, I have to say. It really meant a lot to me at that time. And Frozen 2, which I did not see in the theater, but I saw it on Blu-ray when it came out, or on 4K here, but Target exclusive edition. I think, music-wise, it's not as good as the first one. I think story-wise, it has more to it than the first one. The first one, it's got kind of a basic, relatively thinly plotted, but still serviceable musical kind of framework, something that would work well on the stage. This film, it gets into dark fantasy territory, which is really awesome, and it's about loss and mortality and learning that nothing lasts forever and holding on to people while you still have them, and also, we learn where Elsa's powers came from and what her place in the grand design of this world is. And it's got some darker themes, and it's more intense and things, and it's that's kind of where I wanted it to go, and luckily it went there. So I think music-wise and overall, just kind of fun film-wise, the first one's better. But in terms of story and overall thematic resonance, I think Frozen 2 actually might surpass it on that level, even though the first one, has a lot of really good themes as well. And then we got Galaxy of Terror here, another Scream Factory steelbook for a movie I need to watch. Gamer and War, signed by Lloyd Kaufman because he has a cameo in Gamer. We got Gangster Squad here from what's-his-face, Ruben Fleischer, who did Zombieland and Venom. And I really like this film. It's a good kind of period crime, kind of film noir throwback film. I love film noir and I love period films. We got The Gate here from Vestron, which, I've heard quite a lot of positive things about this film from people that grew up in the 80s. Get the Gringo here with Mel Gibson, that awesome Canadian slip. Ghost World, one of the best non-superhero comic adaptations ever. Terry Zwigoff, young Scarlett Johansson, and what's-her-face, Thora Birch and Steve Buscemi. How can you go wrong? It's so funny. It's very relatable for me. If you have kind of a sardonic sense of humor, it's really good for that reason. The Ghost Rider, not writer, The Ghost Writer with Ewan McGregor and Pierce Brosnan, directed by Roman Polanski in one of his later period works. And Girl House here, pressed on demand by Amazon, which, how much more black could that be? And the answer is none. None more black. The Girl with All the Gifts, one of the best recent zombie films I've seen. I just was blown away by how good this was. It really humanizes zombies, and specifically more like half human, half zombies, but it humanizes them in a way that a lot of zombie films don't. Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, the David Fincher remake. I need to get the original Norwegian films. so it's too bad that they essentially had to reboot the series by casting someone new and getting a new director for the new one that they did, which didn't follow the books, I guess, or I can't even remember. But I just love what they did here. I love the Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross score as well. Gladiator, Ridley Scott, amazing score by Hans Zimmer and Lisa Gerrard. Best Picture winner, awesome stuff. You know, who doesn't love Gladiator? Um, got Shin Godzilla, and I put this in G because, well, Godzilla, and also I want to get the other non-Criterion set Godzillas, so I can put them in G. And yeah, I just need to get the rest of them. There's so many, but I saw this in the theater. I saw the original Japanese language version. Absolutely love this film. You know, it's up there with the original Japanese version of the original Godzilla film, as far as just so good, and such a great, you know, commentary on contemporary Japanese culture and politics. The Gold Rush, Charlie Chaplin film. I've seen this one the least amount of times out of his films that I have. The Golden Compass with that gorgeous slip, and sorry about that. We got Gone with Amanda Seyfried here. I believe that this probably has a slip, but I wasn't able to find it. We got another David Fincher film, Gone Girl. Ben Affleck proved that he's a damn good actor. He can play a sociopath or someone that with qualities that could be misconstrued to be a sociopathic. He knocked it out of the park in this film, and just so good. And even in Tyler Perry showed that he can act really dramatically too. I got Gone with the Wind. Oh yeah, the infamous Gone with the Wind, or the now infamous Gone with the Wind that HBO Max had to take down and then put back up with a disclaimer. But I got this back when there was that run on physical copies of Gone with the Wind, which glad to have this on physical media just in case something like that were to happen again. Again, Best Picture winner, your crowning achievement of cinema. Absolutely essential film to have in your collection and to watch. You know, it's one of those things that, you know, given the conversations about race and everything, like, to me, it's troubling that people really want to, like, be ban happy rather than to, you know, learn more about, you know, the fact that actually this film is toned down quite a lot from the book in terms of the racial content, and Hattie McDaniel was the first African American to win an Oscar for her role in this film, and she definitely deserved it. It helped kind of break down some barriers there, and it you know, it's something that, again, it's another stepping stone kind of film. And David O. Selznick was sympathetic to the plight of African Americans at the time, and, you know, relative to the standards of the time, he took out, like, the N-word and a lot of the really bad racial slurs, and he took out the references to the Ku Klux Klan. You know, it just so this is toned down quite a lot from the book, apparently. And yeah, just again, I am glad that HBO Max put it back up, and I'm good with disclaimers. I want people to learn and to understand why art's important, and to appreciate where we are versus where we were and where we're going, rather than just saying, oh, ban it or censor it. Goodwill Hunting is coming up. Good Morning Vietnam, another Robin Williams film. One of his earliest dramatic films that got him a lot of praise, well-deserved praise. Kind of comedy drama, I guess. The Good, the Bad, and the Weird, with this awesome Canadian gatefold slip here. I've still not watched this film, but looks pretty batshit insane, and that's awesome. And then we got Goodwill Hunting, as mentioned before. Robin Williams won an Oscar for this, and well-deserved. Rest in peace. I miss him every single day, even though I didn't know him personally, but I do miss him every day. Goodfellas, one of Martin Scorsese's best films. Honestly, my favorite Martin Scorsese films tend to be his non-gangster films, But in terms of his gangster films, this is by far and away the best one that he ever did. Just can't say enough good things about it. And then we have Gran Torino, the Clint Eastwood film, which I need to rewatch because I have not watched it since theaters. And then we got Gravy. Got this pretty inexpensively. It was another Scream Factory that was relatively new. The Great Dictator, one of Charlie Chaplin's best films, and a talkie, his first talkie film. Really good searing satire of Adolf Hitler before we entered World War II. This was 1940, prior to Pearl Harbor. So at that time, people were telling him, no, don't do this. This is too political. This is too risky, too, disturbing the peace and all that stuff. Because there were a lot of Hitler sympathizers in the United States and in the UK and everything, which, again, people don't really like to think about, but it's true. And a lot of fascistic movements in the US and in the UK. And Charlie Chaplin came along and said, no, I'm going to, take a shot at this guy. And he did. And it's a comedic masterpiece. And then as soon as Pearl Harbor happened, then, all of a sudden, look at that genius Chaplin. But we're still going to make him leave the country because, he might be a commie. But that's, next decade. Anyway, The Great Wall, which I saw this in the theater, and I quite enjoyed it. This is a Zhang Yimou film. They did Hero and House of Flying Daggers. I enjoyed this film. It was a U.S. and China collaboration film. We got Eli Roth's The Green Inferno, signed by Eli Roth, which is pretty sweet. A lot of people, again, they hate Eli Roth, and they hate this film. They hate it, what he does. I really enjoyed this film. It's about as good of a Amazon cannibal film as you could expect to make in modern times, because obviously you're not going to do the real life animal death. You're not going to do the more misogynistic aspects of the genre, or the more like nativistic aspects of the genre, things like that. There's no like disco-y soundtrack, which that I could have done. I could have had in there, but I did like the more serious soundtrack. This is really damn good though for what it is. If you like cannibal films, I'd recommend it if you have the stomach for it. Greenberg here with Ben Stiller. This is a Noah Baumbach film that I have wanted to see since I saw the trailer for it. I really loved the Meyerowitz stories, and I've not seen, did he do Marriage Story? Was that him? I think it was. I've not watched that one yet, but I loved Meyerowitz stories, and I loved The Squid and the Whale, which I still need to get in the collection. The Grey, I need to finish this film. I started watching it. Liam Neeson, he became like the action star for some reason. Gun with 50 Cent and Val Kilmer with long hair. I've not watched this film yet, but it's worth keeping in the collection just because of that. I mean, that's a masterpiece right there. And then we got Gunslinger Girls Season 1 and Season 2 here. Not watched Season 2. This is my favorite anime of all time. It's so heartbreaking, and so, it's these little girls that are taken off the street and they're remade into cyborgs and assassins, and for the Italian government, and it's it just breaks your heart. And really great storytelling, but just it hits a personal chord with me. Hall Pass, underrated Farrelly Brothers film with I think her name is Nikki Whalen. I think beautiful girl. The super expensive out of print Halloween Scream Factory set. I put the 4K slipcover on the first one because I have the 4K disc in here as well. And it's got the 10 Halloween films here. I think this is one of the best box sets ever made. And I did pre-order the Friday the 13th set that they are putting out that's getting that same treatment. And then I've got the Best Buy exclusive version of the 2018, I think it was David Gordon Green version. which I was a little disappointed by it. Like, I felt like it was very homage-y and not really trying to do a whole lot new or different, but I do think it set the groundwork for what'll hopefully be cooler, more daring sequels. Um, Kenneth Branagh's Hamlet, possibly the best Shakespeare adaptation ever made. It's the big 4-hour epic of Hamlet. It does the entire play word for word, which is amazing. Highly recommend it for any Shakespeare scholars out there. Hammer of the Gods, which I've not watched yet, but it's that Walmart exclusive one with the slip there. One of my favorite found footage films, Hangman. This one's filmed from the killer's perspective, so it's pretty unique on that level. So there's a good reason why the cameras are there. And then we got all the Hannibal Lecter films here. We got Manhunter with the slip cover, the Scream Factory slip. We got the Criterion Collection version of, if you count this as a horror film, my favorite horror film of all time, and in my top 5 favorite films of all time, The Silence of the Lambs. Anthony Hopkins as Hannibal Lecter, another actor who inspires me. Ridley Scott's Hannibal on 4K. I think underrated. It's not as good as Silence of the Lambs, but it's not horrible either. It's very grotesque, and I like grotesquerie. Brett Ratner's Red Dragon, a very solid stylistic continuation of what Jonathan Demme had started with Silence of the Lambs, except this was a prequel, and it was the other adaptation of Red Dragon, the novel, which Manhunter was the first adaptation. Hannibal Rising, which is definitely the least good of the films, even though it too has its moments, and this is the uncut version, the UK region-free one. And the complete series of Hannibal, the show, which I still need to finish. Again, started it and got sidetracked, as I do. Got Hansel and Gretel Witch Hunters, this UK exclusive 4K. Need to find a slip for it, but I'm glad that this is getting a cult following now because it deserves it. This is a really fun one. Don't know why it got bad reviews, but it is getting a cult following and a very well-deserved one. Happy Death Day, which I still need to watch. Heard good things. Need to track down the sequel. What a disappointing film this was, The Happy Time Murders. Kept it in the collection because I want to watch the bonus features and learn more about how they did the puppetry and just what all I can learn from it because I love puppets. It just could have been so much better than it was. I think it played it way too safe in some areas and then was raunchy in some of the wrong areas, or at least raunchy in ways that we've seen 10 million times before and not really anything new or different. But yeah, keep it in the collection because of the puppetry aspect. I got A Hard Day's Night, great Beatles film, highly, highly influential film, basically created the music video as we know it today. Hardcore Henry here with the Canadian slip, still need to watch it. Really fascinated by first person in films. Harry Brown, the Michael Caine vigilante film that I remembered seeing in the theater. I loved it. You failed to maintain your weapons, sir. I loved it. Harvey, the Jimmy Stewart film. One of my favorite black and white films when I was a kid. Absolutely loved it. It still holds up. And then I only have Hatchet 2. This is the one that Lloyd Kaufman had a cameo in. Need to get the other ones, as well as Victor Crowley. The Hateful Eight, this amazing South Korean edition. And I was really disappointed with this film. Like, I saw the big roadshow version, but I still need to watch it. I like to watch that Netflix miniseries version of it that has all that restored footage. Haxen, the I believe it's Swedish film that's kind of like that horror documentary about witchcraft from the 20s and whatever that was, 1922. Very influential film. Hazmat by my friend Lou Simon. Again, this is actually an Italian Blu-ray here because it's not on Blu-ray in the U.S. And then we got The Heat with Melissa McCarthy and Sandra Bullock. It's late at night. I enjoyed this one. As far as mainstream comedies go, it's a good one. Heaven is for Real, one of the better, Christian drama films that came out in that like mid 2010s boom of the Christian film market, which I guess has kind of died off now, at least in the mainstream. Heaven's Gate, the Michael Cimino controversial / infamous film, that has now been critically reappraised and gotten a Criterion release now that it's got its definitive director restored version. I still need to watch it, but I gotta carve out some time to actually watch it. Hell Ride, which Tarantino presents here, directed by Larry Bishop. Got The Help, which I still need to watch. And then we got Kenneth Branagh's Henry V, the Shout Factory of that. Regarded as possibly the best Shakespeare adaptation. It's up there. I think his Hamlet is probably is the best that I've seen. Her, I remember seeing this in the theater and hit a little too close to home at that time, but if I watched it now, I might not be quite as affected in that same way. Hercules, woo! One of my favorite films in the Disney Renaissance. I watched this film over and over and over again when I was a kid. And then we got Hereafter, which I have not seen. It's a Clint Eastwood fantasy film. Still need to watch it. And then Hereditary. Saw this in the theater. I remembered how people just went fucking nuts for it. I remember feeling kind of disappointed with it. I didn't really see what other people saw, but it seems like a film that would get better upon rewatching. I just remembered I actually laughed when spoiler alert, I actually laughed when the little girl got decapitated because I thought to myself, oh man, wouldn't it be funny if she got decapitated here? And she did, and I was like, I didn't mean it, but it was, I found that really funny because I totally called it before it happened. People were really shocked by it, but I found it hilarious. I'm a fucked up person. The Hills Have Eyes, the original. This is the FYE exclusive steelbook of the Arrow release here. Really good kind of mountainside cannibal film with some comedic elements. And then the remake series, the two there, which I still need to watch. I need to get the Hills Have Eyes Part 2, the sequel there, to the Wes Craven film. Horrible Bosses, I really enjoyed this film. It's a shame with Kevin Spacey, what all came to light with him recently, because we more than likely won't, at least not for a good long time, if ever, but, he was just, he was an actor I dreamed of working with one day, and, that well has been poisoned pretty good, I think. Horrible Bosses 2, which I still need to watch. Like the first one quite a lot. Didn't think I would, but I did. House at the End of the Street, this cool Canadian slipcover version. I don't get the hate against this film. It's not great. It's not, an amazing film, but I don't get why it gets, hated. I think Jennifer Lawrence, obviously, she does a good job. Elizabeth Shue's good in this. Gil Bellows is good. It's a kind of a thriller. It's nothing great, but I didn't think it deserved the hate it got. House of Flying Daggers, of all of the wushu films that came to the U.S. in the 2000s, this one was always my favorite. And Ji Zhang. Oh, love her so much. The Houses October Built 1 and 2, both with the slips. I love this one. Still need to watch this one. But really good. First one's a really good found footage film about the haunted, those haunted house attractions that you drive through in rural areas that get set up every Halloween that, people jump out and scare you, and they put a lot of thought into them, and some of them are more intense and kind of off the beaten path than others. That's what that's about. Got The Howling, this gorgeous Scream Factory steelbook there. Oh, so beautiful. And then, controversial opinion, my favorite Martin Scorsese film, Hugo. Oh, this film, it hits me, right here. Because it reminds me so much of myself and my just feeling in life, and it touches on like silent cinema and the origins of cinema in France, and why art's important, why it's important to find something to attach meaning to one's life. Um, just I could go on and on. I love the automaton. I love the 3D. I loved just everything about it. I'm just so many people I know had like venomous hatred towards this film for some reason. I do not know why. I can't get enough of it. I really can't. It inspires me. Um, this is the Zavi exclusive. It's two steelbooks here. It's a beautiful package, but it's Hulk, Ang Lee's Hulk, and The Incredible Hulk, which has kind of been swept under the rug as far as Marvel Studios films goes, which is weird because it is still in the canon, but just for whatever reason Disney doesn't really touch it, I guess because of rights issues or something. But Ang Lee's Hulk, people hate the shit out of this movie. I think it's underrated personally. It's got some flaws obviously, but I think it's underrated personally. I think it does things that other superhero films have not really done in the same way, as far as like child abuse and trauma and things like that. And then from like a more conventional superhero film, The Incredible Hulk kind of checks off those boxes, but it again, they recast the Hulk, and it's like the people don't really talk about it so much anymore, but it's solid. Human Centipede films, which I still need to watch, but this seems like something that you want to watch with a full stomach, so that way you can yeah, if you decide to throw up, you at least have some stuff to throw up. um Humanoids from the Deep, look at that gorgeous steelbook design. Looks very Lovecraftian, doesn't it? Got The Hunchback of Notre Dame, my second favorite Disney Renaissance film behind Aladdin. The Little Mermaid would be up there too. The Arrow Academy release of The Hunt, which was believe a Danish film with Mads Mikkelsen. Highly, highly recommend this film. You can see why he got so much praise for it and why he's a big star now. The Hunter with Willem Dafoe. Love Willem Dafoe. I Am Number 4 with Teresa Palmer. We got The Asylum's I Am Omega, which came out at the same time as I Am Legend, which I Am Omega, that's a really cool title, I think. Still need to watch it. I Kill Giants, which was adapted from a non-superhero comic and has Zoe Saldana in it. I Still See You, which I still need to watch, and Bella Thorne. You're starting to get a disturbing window into my head, aren't you? I Frankenstein 3D, that cool Canadian slip. I love all kinds of different interpretations of Frankenstein. I've heard that it's kind of bad, but it was cheap. I, Tonya with Margot Robbie, who's like number one as far as like sexiest woman alive, and by far and away one of the best actresses working today. I mean, and she's had really good taste with projects, I've noticed. She tends to hitch her horse to a good buggy, or however you want to hitch her buggy to a good horse, or however you want to say that. Lindsay Anderson's If, with pre-Clockwork Orange Malcolm McDowell, who gives an amazing performance. This is kind of a searing attack on the British school system at the time, like the boys schools, and it's absolutely fantastic. 1969 film, highly recommend it. If I Stay with Chloe Grace Moretz, still need to watch it. This is a bootleg because it's not on Blu-ray as far as I know. Ilsa, She-Wolf of the SS. and kind of the prototypical Nazi exploitation film and well-known sexploitation film. The Imaginarium of Dr. Parnassus with that awesome Canadian slip with this super super long title, as you can see. One of Heath Ledger's final films, released posthumously. Rest in peace. The Imitation Game, an amazing drama film that tragically no one talks about anymore. I loved it, absolutely loved it. Oh yeah, whew, I love Joker. Who doesn't really? But I absolutely love this film. It's funny because the Nolan Batman trilogy, I think it tried so hard to be the realistic Batman, and it with varying results. Some things about it were realistic and some things weren't. If you wanted like the realistic Batman world, not Batman himself because Bruce Wayne's just a kid in this, but you want the realistic Batman world, this is it. I mean, it's so down to earth that it hurts, honestly. Like it's so true to life that and so relevant to this era in history and all time, really. It just, it hits you right there, and it's like it's so real that it hurts, honestly. But that's what great art does, and I loved all the people saying, "Oh, it's gonna incite violence, it's gonna do this and that," and nothing happened, and it's just fuck those people. Really, really great film about mental illness and about why you need to care for the less fortunate, and why our mental health system in this country is fucked beyond belief, and why we're always going to have like these mass shooters and people who commit acts of domestic terrorism unless we fix these things. And it's like that's why you need films like this, and I'm so glad it did such good business and people loved it, and Joaquin Phoenix deserved Best Actor by far. Yeah, so anyway, rant over. This Jumanji trilogy here, Canadian exclusive here. Still need to watch these two, but the first one's really it's interesting. It's almost like a horror movie for kids, even though it doesn't really look like it, but it's got a horror movie plot, almost like Ouija, or like like a cursed board game kind of thing. Jungle Holocaust here, doesn't that make you hungry or what? Another cannibal film. Got one of my favorite films of the 2000s, Juno. One of my favorite scripts. I love Diablo Cody, love Ellen Page, love Jason Reitman, just Jason Bateman too. Can't say enough good things about it. Just watch it if you haven't, although you probably have. Jupiter Ascending. I think an underrated Wachowski's film. It was not commercially successful and is not well received, but it's getting a cult following, and I think deservedly. I think it does things that most sci-fi films today don't do, and I think it was actually pretty original, and it was an original IP as well. Now, some things about it don't really work, but on the whole, I think it was going for things that most sci-fi films don't go for these days. Justice League, the season 1. I need to get season 2, and I need to get the complete series of Justice League Unlimited. And then, of course, Justice League, the 2017 live-action film with this awesome steelbook design. I was very disappointed with this film, but again, I was disappointed with the kind of butchered studio reshoot mandated edition, and I'm really excited to see what the Zack Snyder cut has in store, because I totally knew that it existed. We all knew it existed, and we got it. So really, really excited to see what all that has in store for us. Got the Karate Kid here with the slipcover. Who doesn't love this film? Kelly's Heroes and Where Eagles Dare. I've not seen Kelly's Heroes. Where Eagles Dare is a fucking amazing wartime action film with a really huge body count for 1968. Early Clint Eastwood film. Kicks so much ass in this, and Richard Burton does too. Kick-Ass, which I really enjoyed. I thought this had a good kind of dark sense of humor, really violent, really, I don't know, it checked off a lot of boxes for me. And Chloe Grace Moretz, saying, fuckers and cunts and, all that stuff. when she's just a kid, which I thought, hey, that's cool. Which then you hit the sequel, which, to a certain extent was kind of watered down or was, not as fresh, or, it came out in the wake of, like, the discussions of, like, gun violence related to, like, Sandy Hook and stuff, and Jim Carrey distanced himself from it, despite him doing an amazing job in this. Really, really good job. I think it was pretty solid. Like, it's not as good as the first one, but if you like those characters, then it's good to see where the story was going. I know that there was supposed to be, like, a Hit Girl spinoff, but I don't think it'll ever happen. I know that it happened in the comics, and this did take inspiration from that spinoff series. If nothing else came of it, I think, it was a fine one to end on. But the first one's still better. The Kid, amazing Chaplin film. Great Criterion cover there. The kid himself, as I recall, he had a really tough life after that film. The 20... whoops. Where's the other one? I do have... how funny that I can't find the box set of The Invisible Man that I do have in the collection, but I can't find it right now. But it's the 2020 Invisible Man, which was quite good. I was impressed. Isn't that funny? Maybe it turned invisible. I'll look for it. Iron Sky, the Savvy exclusive 2-pack of the first one and the second one, called The Coming Race. Great kind of Nazi-exploitation sci-fi comedy there. Got Ironclad and Ironclad Battle for Blood, which I have not watched yet. Kate Mara, Paul Giamatti, great. When I first unboxed these, I called them Iron Blood, and I was like, no, that's not right. We got the original mini-series of It, with this cool slip here, and It Chapter 1, with that cool Best Buy exclusive steelbook, and It Chapter 2. Overall, I think these ones are, well, scarier, and they just kind of realize the ideas a little bit better, even though the miniseries is really good for what it is, so definitely check them all out. Yeah, you can have debates on who's the better Pennywise and that kind of stuff. Tim Curry's hilarious. It Happened One Night, Best Picture winner, the kind of the last of the pre-code Hollywood films. Highly recommend it if you've never seen it. Jason and the Argonauts. I think this should get a Criterion Collection release, don't you? I mean, or a 4K or something. It's well worth it. One of the best fantasy films ever. And then we got Jaws with this awesome lenticular cover there in 4K. Oh, so great. I mean, one of Steven Spielberg's best films, one of the best horror films ever, and kind of the film that launched a million sharksploitation films, including its own sequels, Jaws 2, and Jaws 3, and Jaws The Revenge. And then these three are coming out on their own 3-pack, but I already have them individually, so there you go. And then we got The Jazz Singer here, this awesome digibook of it. I bought this because, it's, again, the first talkie. It's really, really important for film history. And I bought it because I was afraid, again, it would get mysteriously hard to find, just like Gone with the Wind, because, well, like it or not, there's blackface in it. It's pretty infamous. But, again, you cannot and should not erase this from film history, because it was the first talkie, highly, highly influential and important. So, yeah, just don't erase art, even if it's got problematic aspects, which this certainly does. But, again, it's kind of a product of its time. And what else do we have? Oh, yeah, speaking of controversial in terms of the filmmaker, Jeepers Creepers 1, 2, and 3. I love these movies, honestly. I think, well, Victor Salva, obviously, he's got an infamous history, and, he'll always be remembered for that, which, on the one hand, is well-deserved, because what he did was heinous, but at the same time, unlike, say, Roman Polanski, he did serve his time in prison. He's still a registered sex offender. He did in effect, pay his dues to society. He hasn't attempted to gaslight anybody. He's been abundantly clear about how sorry he was that he did what he did. Um, and, he is a great original horror filmmaker, to be honest with you. Really great original voice. I really liked these films and this character of the Creeper. So on the one hand, it's like, yeah, can't, really get past, what all happened, but at the same time, like, and it wasn't okay what happened, but at the same time, unlike, someone like Roman Polanski who kept making films and had the, the backing of Hollywood and stuff, someone like Victor Salva, I think that his work, does deserve more attention than it has gotten. Ah, there you are, Invisible Man. Which actually I just realized that other one was out of order, but yeah, there you go. Invisible Man, great set. And actually, yeah, I just realized that the I's here should have come before the J's. That's okay. So a little out of order here, but that's okay. In a Lonely Place, fantastic Humphrey Bogart film, film noir by Nicholas Ray. In Cold Blood, one of my favorite films of all time, adaptation of a true crime book based on a real-life true crime, with a fantastic performance by Robert Blake, another kind of notorious figure now, in the realm of the senses. Very controversial film because of all the unsimulated sex in this film, including, coming to fruition and all that good stuff, but a really, really great drama. Highly recommend it. In Time with Amanda Seyfried and Justin Timberlake, directed by Andrew Niccol, who wrote The Truman Show. The Incredible Shrinking Man, the Arrow release, one of the best sci-fi films ever. We got the Best Buy exclusive steelbooks of The Incredibles and The Incredibles 2. People really love these films. I mean, they're not some of my personal favorites of the Pixar canon, but, I've come to appreciate them. My least favorite Paul Thomas Anderson film, Inherent Vice, which I need to re-watch because I remembered being so disappointed with it, but I got it for cheap. Inside Man, probably the first Spike Lee film I remember seeing. Really liked this film, and it introduced me to Clive Owen, who I've come to really love as an actor. Insidious 1, Insidious 2, Insidious 3, and Insidious The Last Key. Great series of supernatural horror films. Speaking of Clive Owen, Intruders. Highly recommend this film. Very underrated, I think. We talked about Birth of a Nation before. Well, this was D.W. Griffith's follow-up, Intolerance, which was kind of somewhat of an apology film, but also, I think, a much better film. It's much more ambitious. It's it's just got a humongous scope, and it stands out relative to films of its time and films to today.